Hi, my name is Travis Mathews. I'm the director of Discreet, which is premiering here in Berlinale in the Panorama section.
How you doing? Come on in. Can I offer you anything to drink? I have tequila, there's also water.
No, I'm good.
Stand right here for me. Face that direction. I'm gonna go ahead and blindfold you. Let me know if this is too tight.
Welcome, Travis Mathews, director of Discreet. Your film Discreet is set in Texas in a very rural setting.
Yeah.
And it's dominated by mid-aged or older men. There's only a few young people. And you get right away in the beginning a few details. A wrapped dead corpse that's gonna thrown into a river, and quite peaceful images as well. But at the same time, the viewer realizes right away that something is wrong.
Yes.
So basically, it's a thriller. How did you come up with this idea and this setting in Texas?
Two questions. The first about Texas. I was in development and pre-production on another project that didn't end up happening, that had me in Texas for a very long time. And when that project fell apart and I was in Texas and I was driving around in the van that is in the film, I was really, I wanted to do something that felt urgent. I wanted to do something that had bite to it. And I wanted to do something that was a response to the environment around me. And the environment around me, meaning the immediate environment of Texas, of Central Texas, but also the emerging sort of cultural zeitgeist moment in America, which when I would turn on the AM radio in the van was very much like there were these sounds or voices, these conservative voices that felt a little bit like the drumbeat to war. And it felt, I grew up in rural Ohio, so I'm familiar with conservative people and country people. But this felt different in that it felt like there was these people who used to be on the fringes were now people who were getting louder voices that were being listened to, and they were also louder voices with more power. And there was an anxiety in the air. There was a fear in the air that's even worse now because of the reality we're living in America. But I wanted to write something that captured that anxiety in the air and the sort of percolating, almost precursor of trauma that I feel like a lot of people are, a lot of progressives in the States right now are very much like in a constant state of. Trauma sounds exaggerated or hyperbole, but it is like this sort of like intense and startling need to act and need to be involved. And when we were beginning to write the story, I wanted to capture all of that, but I wanted to have it be channeled through a character, to do like a character study, and I wanted it to be channeled through this character of Alex, who's a drifter, and he's coming home to Texas to find closure with his estranged mother, and in the process he learns something that basically thrusts him into this world, which is where the thriller kind of elements start, thrusts him into a world where he's re-traumatized and he has to kind of navigate his way through this rural underworld,
I mean, what was quite intriguing to me that you have like this clear separation between like his inner world and the outer world. And I mean, in both, I felt Alex, your main protagonist, didn't feel at home in a way. So he's shooting basically like images or footage of like highways. Like this is a sign for like being on the run, like not being home. And at the same time, like the voice of this YouTube channel lady, Mandy, that it's a kind of esoteric channel, isn't it? So I mean, this is like combined in a very nice way, and you don't know precisely where the borders are between like inner world and outer world.
Yeah,
right?
correct. Yeah. So I wanted Alex's journey to be this sort of mashed up mix of him trying to use kind of arcane and primitive tools to try and find peace, to try and like find calm, to try and just get over his trauma. And we're introduced to him as he's using these techniques, which is the video that you're talking about. And he's inspired by Mandy because Mandy is a character who has this YouTube channel where she does this thing that's actually very popular called ASMR. And ASMR is like this online community of people, mostly women, but not exclusively, where they have these 3D microphones and they whisper into the microphones or they make noises that are supposed to calm people who have PTSD. And so he gets turned on to this, and she's encouraging her viewers to make these videos of things that are familiar with them, but also things that are repetitive. Sounds that are repetitive, visuals that are repetitive, but things that are, in her words, your hum. Not home, but hum, like H-U-M, like And for Alex, somebody who's a drifter who lives on the road, the freeways are his home. And it's also the thing that feels familiar, it's the thing that calms him, but it's also the thing that constrains him. So as the movie moves forward, you know, what we wanted to do was to create kind of a surreal space where, what you're getting at, a surreal space where what is meant to be something that's healing or supportive or on his side is also confused with what is dangerous or what is just harmful.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and so they begin to weave into each other as the film progresses.
There's a quite interesting image for just like what you described. Alex, the main protagonist, in the bed with the one that was the perpetrator that abused him sexually as a kid, as I got it right.
Don't give away a spoiler.
Oh.
It's a spoiler, but okay.
Oh, here we go.
It's supposed to be an image that is revealed at the end, but
no,
continue.
There we go. So, but this is like precisely the image what I thought, like, I mean, when you don't know in what direction it's going to be. I mean, I was like, thinking he's gonna abuse somebody too, but finally this doesn't happen. So, I mean, how did you come up with this idea? Like, the way
I think for Alex, I think that John, who is the older man that you're referring to, who abused him, I think that for Alex, as much as he loathes this person and wants to destroy this person for what he did to him, I think that John also knows him more intimately and honestly than probably anybody else that Alex has had relationships with, whether they're romantic or sexual or friendship relationships. I think he believes that John knows him more than anybody else, knows him more intimately, and not sexually, but just intimately who he is. And so there's this passion, basically, to destroy the thing that traumatized you while also wanting to be close to it because of the intimacy that is there.
So, just like hopping in the topics. So, I mean, your film is a great example of suspension. Did you have like the genre right away in the beginning when you started to, it was like clear to you this is gonna be a thriller, or?
There's like some famous saying that you always make 3 movies, the one you write, the one that you're filming, and the one that you actually edit and you have at the end. And I always knew on some level that we wanted it to be suspenseful for sure. would it end up becoming the kind of thriller that it is? I wasn't quite sure from the beginning, but I wanted to do something that was a little bit of a departure from my previous work, which was, my previous work has been much more, around gay sexuality, masculinity, intimacy, all these things that are still in this world. But I wanted to kind of shift my point of view a little bit and have it almost edge up to what you could say is a horror film. And I want to make a horror film, so I wanted this to be. Stepping stone isn't fair to the movie because I'm proud of the movie that I have here, but I wanted to make a film that proved to myself more than anybody else really that I could move into genre filmmaking while also holding on to elements of my previous work. That said, I also felt like the political climate that I wanted to deal with, the anxiety that was in the air, the tension that was in the air in rural Texas when I was there. These were all things that, tossed into the mix, I feel lend themselves to being a thriller or lend themselves to being something that has anxiety and tension in it.
So what do you think, like, the world changed after the elections in America, and pretty much for you as an American?
Yeah.
So what do you think, what's going to be the effect on your upcoming project?
My upcoming project?
Yeah, you will work on another film, so
yeah.
What will change this on on the subject, for example? I mean, you said already that you wanted to do like different movies than you did before, like you moved like some on like from this gay content like to more a different like anxiety, for example. But so what's like?
I feel a responsibility as a filmmaker with a voice, with a small megaphone, to do work that is political. And when I say political, I don't mean capital P, like I'm going to be a Michael Moore and like do a documentary that's about politics. But I think that our democracy in America is under attack in ways that, not even in my lifetime, I don't think our country has ever experienced. And clearly, what happens in our country has ripple effects for the world. And there's an authoritarian regime that is in the White House right now, and it's terrifying. And I feel responsibility, and I want to encourage other people to use whatever tools they have to let their voices be heard. It doesn't mean everybody needs to make a movie, but I feel like this is not the time for people to be silent. This is not the time for people to isolate. This is the time for people to let their feelings be known and to let the world know that this is not acceptable to us. So to answer your question, I feel like I can't imagine doing projects in the near future that do not have that energy and that DNA mixed into whatever the story is going to be.
Are you actually working on a project, or you just like finished? You said like
I am, but I can't talk about it. I'm sorry.
Okay, we won't spoil it.
I am, but I'll tell you that what I just shared in terms of the politics being in the mix. It's definitely in the mix with the next project.
I'm very curious. Thanks, Travis Mathews, for coming.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Hi, my name is Travis Mathews. I'm the director of Discreet, which is premiering here in Berlinale in the Panorama section.
How you doing? Come on in. Can I offer you anything to drink? Have tequila, there's also water.
No, good.
Stand right here for me. Face that direction. I'm gonna go ahead and blindfold you. Let me know if this is too tight.
Welcome, Travis Mathews, director of Discreet. Your film Discreet is set in Texas in a very rural setting.
Yeah.
and it's dominated by mid-aged or older men. There's only a few young people. So, and you get like right away in the beginning a few details. A wrapped dead corpse that's gonna thrown into a river.